The stars were quiet above the planet of Varix Prime. Ships moved slowly in orbit, but the people on the ground felt something strange in the air. Something was coming. They had heard stories, not just about Earth's armies, but about the special forces. Soldiers who came without warning and disappeared just as fast. No one ever saw them twice. And if you did, you didn't live long enough to tell anyone. Captain Laura Kane stood in the dark corner of the dropship. Her face was calm, her eyes sharp. She was not here for a fight, she was here for a result. Around her, the rest of her unit waited in silence. Sergeant Cole Rivers checked his rifle, then nodded once. No one spoke. They had done this many times before. It did not need words. Their mission was simple. Land. Eliminate the rebel leaders. Get out. The Queen had sent a message across the stars. She would not tolerate betrayal. She would not waste time with politics. The human rebels on Varix Prime had made a choice. Earth had made its own. The dropship entered the lower sky. The city lights of Darwin glowed beneath them. It looked peaceful, but Laura knew better. Underground bunkers, defense cannons, thousands of armed men. They were ready for a war, but they were not ready for her unit. The ship dropped them on the rooftops of the east sector. No alarms went off. No one noticed them arrive. Within seconds, the team split into 3 groups and moved across the rooftops like shadows. Laura's team entered the central tower. They found the rebel command room in under 5 minutes. No guards had time to react. Every shot was silent. Every move was exact. One by one, the leaders dropped. No one begged. No one had the chance. Across the city, panic began. Rebels tried to call for help, but the communication lines were dead. Others ran only to find their escape ships disabled. Some turned on each other, shouting that Earth had betrayed them. But Earth had not betrayed them. They had betrayed Earth, and now Earth had answered. By the time the sun rose, the fighting had stopped. The city was quiet again. But it was a different kind of quiet. A warning. Special forces had come, and the galaxy would never forget it. Smoke rose from the east side of Darwin as the sun climbed higher. Streets once filled with noise were now silent. Doors stayed shut. Windows were dark. People whispered behind walls, afraid to even breathe. The special forces had landed and nothing would be the same again. Sergeant Cole Rivers moved fast through the broken halls of the West Barracks. His boots made no sound. Behind him, 3 soldiers followed his lead. They cleared room after room with cold skill. Every guard they found was taken down before a word could be spoken. No shouting, no delay, only quick, clean action. Cole had seen war before, but this was different. The rebels here wore the same armor he once did. They carried weapons from Earth, but their loyalty was gone. They had turned against the Queen, hoping to rule this planet for themselves. Now they would pay for it. On the other side of the city, Captain Laura Kane moved through a warehouse filled with fuel tanks and ammo crates. Her hand pointed forward, and her team broke into action. A group of rebels stood around a command table. They didn't see her coming. 2 seconds later, they were on the floor, not moving. Laura didn't blink. She kept going. Rebel fighters began to panic. They tried to set up defense lines, but nothing worked. Their radios were silent. Their leaders were gone. Their drones stopped flying. Some begged their friends to help. Others dropped their weapons and ran. It didn't matter. Special forces were already inside. Civilians stayed hidden. They had no love for the rebels. The rebels took food and water from them, beat their sons, and claimed it was for the greater good. Now, they watched from cracks in walls as black armor moved through the city like smoke. Some cried, not out of fear, but relief. By nightfall, half the city was under control. Laura and Cole met near the main bridge. They didn't smile. It was still work to do. They're trying to regroup near the power station, Cole said. Then we hit them before they can breathe, Laura answered. She gave the order. Her voice was calm. She had done this before and she would do it again. For the Queen, for Earth, and for the message that had to be sent. Far away from the burning streets of Darwin, inside the royal tower on Earth, Queen Helena stood still. She looked at the large screen in front of her. Her face showed no emotion. Her eyes watched the live feed from the special forces. She saw Laura's team moving through enemy lines. She saw Cole lead his men with speed and silence. She saw fear take over Varix Prime. Helena did not smile. She did not speak. The room around her was full of high officers and advisors, but no one dared to talk. They all waited for her words. She stayed quiet. The queen had ruled for years. Her voice had ended wars. Her orders had crushed rebellions before they could grow. But this was different. This betrayal had come from one of her own blood. Duke Lennox, once a loyal man, had turned his back on the crown. He had promised safety to the people of Verix Prime, then filled their minds with lies. He wanted power, not peace. Helena gave one short command. Finish it. Back on Verix Prime, the power station was under attack. Rebel fighters hid behind thick walls. They fired blindly at shadows. They shouted orders, but no one listened. The special forces had already entered through tunnels below. They moved under the floors and came up behind enemy lines. Laura threw a smoke charge. Cole gave the signal. In less than 5 minutes, it was over. The rebels tried to escape, but their ships would not start. The controls were dead. The wires were melted. The exits were blocked. Everything had been planned. The special forces were not soldiers. They were hunters. In one house, a rebel officer cried while holding a picture of his family. He had believed in Lennox. He had followed him to power. Now he knew the truth too late. A soldier from Laura's team entered the room. The officer did not fight. He only asked one question. Will my family be safe? The soldier nodded and took him away. 8. By midnight, Darwin was under full control. Fires burned in the hills, but the city streets were calm. Queen Helena watched the final report appear on her screen. Still, she did not smile. She turned away and walked out of the room. She had sent her message. The galaxy would understand. This was only the beginning. The sound of gunfire was gone. The streets were filled with silence. People slowly came out of hiding. They looked around with tired eyes. Some held children close. Some carried water to the injured. They all saw the black armor of the special forces standing like statues at every corner. No one spoke to them. No one needed to. Captain Laura Kane stood on top of the central tower. She watched the city below. Her team had done their job. But it was not over. Not yet. Duke Lennox was not in the city. He had left before they arrived. He had escaped to another planet. He still believed he could hide. Sergeant Cole Rivers joined her on the roof. His armor was scratched, his face marked by fire and dust. He looked down at the streets. Locals say Lennox left with 3 ships, he said. Took gold weapons and his guards. He ran before the first shot, Laura said. He was never ready to fight. Cole gave her a small nod. They always run, he said. Laura looked toward the sky. Let him run. We'll find him, she said. Back at the command room, messages came from other cities on the planet. All were the same. The rebel fighters had surrendered or were on the run. Some were caught. Others tried to take their own lives. The fear of the special forces was stronger than any weapon. In one village, the people brought food and medicine to the soldiers. A boy handed Cole a bottle of water and said thank you. Cole took it and placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. The boy had lost his father in the first week of the rebellion. His eyes showed pain, but also hope. The Queen's message had reached them. Across the galaxy, other leaders watched the fall of Vorex Prime. They had thought the rebels might win. They had thought Earth had grown soft. Now they knew the truth. Earth was quiet, but not weak. The special forces were not a story to scare children. They were real, and they were coming. In the dark sky, new orders were already sent. The next mission was ready. The hunt for Lennox had begun. The air was hot and dry on the planet Juno 3. Sandstorms moved across the open plains, hiding the roads and choking the sky. This was where Duke Lennox had run to. He thought he would be safe here. The planet was neutral, not ruled by any side. Many rich men and warlords came here to hide. They paid for silence and protection. Lennox had done the same. He stayed in a tall glass tower in the middle of a private city. Guards stood around the building, dressed in black with rifles in hand. He gave orders to shut the gates and check every ship that entered the city. He believed Earth would not dare come for him here. He was wrong. Laura and Cole arrived without their usual gear. They wore simple clothes. No armor. No large weapons. They entered the city as traitors. No one noticed them. No alarms were raised. They carried nothing that would show who they were. That night, they met with the rest of their team in an old warehouse outside the market. Each member had taken out one of Lennox's men without sound or mess. His eyes and ears were gone. Didn't know it yet, but he was blind. Laura looked at a small map on the table. "We move at midnight," she said. "No mistakes, no warnings. We go in silent and finish it." Cole looked at the team and gave one slow nod. "Let's remind him who we are, eh?" When the tower lights went out, panic spread inside. Lennox shouted for power to return. His guards ran to the control room. They never made it. One by one, they were taken down in the dark. Laura reached the top floor in silence. She opened the main door and stepped inside. Lennox stood alone, holding a small gun in his hand. His face was pale. "You're not supposed to be here," he said. "This planet is safe ground." Laura walked toward him without fear. "There is no safe ground for traitors," she said. Lennox tried to raise his gun. Cole stepped in behind him and knocked it away. Lennox fell to his knees. His hands shook. He looked up at the two soldiers and saw no mercy in their eyes. He knew it was over. Duke Lennox sat inside a steel cell on board the warship Iron Valor. His hands were locked, his eyes tired. The ship moved through deep space, heading back to Earth. Around him, the air was cold and quiet. He had lost everything. His army, his gold, his power, all gone. He did not speak. He knew there was nothing left to say. Captain Laura Kane stood outside the cell with Sergeant Cole Rivers. They watched him in silence. He did not look up. "Thought he was safe," Cole said. "No one is safe when they betray the Queen," Laura replied. The news of Lennox's capture spread fast across the galaxy. Screens showed his face, his arrest, and the broken flag of his failed army. People cheered in cities across Earth's colonies. Children waved the flag of the Queen. Farmers, miners, and workers all stopped to watch the news. The traitor had fallen. The special forces had won again. Queen Helena stood before the cameras inside the royal hall. Her voice was strong and clear. She did not shout. She did not smile. Her words were calm. "Loyalty is the strength of peace. Those who break that bond will face justice." She did not speak long. She did not need to. Every word was a warning. In secret meetings across other planets, leaders sat in silence. Some had thought of rising against Earth. Some had joined hands with Lennox. Now they burned those papers. They destroyed their plans. They did not want to be next. The Queen did not send more ships. She did not send more messages. She sent silence. That silence was louder than war. On the Iron Valor, Laura looked out the window. Stars moved slowly past the ship. Her team rested below deck. Some cleaned their gear. Some slept. All of them knew this was not the end. Another name would rise. Another fool would test Earth's strength. Cole joined her at the window. "Do you think they'll learn this time?" he asked. "No," Laura said, "but we'll be ready." Behind them, the metal doors closed with a sharp sound. The ship continued forward, steady and strong. Earth had spoken, and the galaxy had listened. The warship Iron Valor landed on Earth under the cover of night. There was no crowd waiting, no cheers, no lights or welcome. The mission was over, but the soldiers returned the same way they left, quiet, sharp, and ready. Captain Laura Kane stepped off the ramp first. Her face was calm. She had no medals on her chest, no words of glory. Behind her, Sergeant Cole Rivers and the rest of the unit followed in silence. They carried no trophies. Their victory was in the fear they left behind and the peace they brought back. Duke Lennox was taken away without a word. He would stand trial in the royal court, but no one expected him to speak. His silence was enough. His name would be remembered, but not with respect. Only as a warning. At the palace, Queen Helena watched the report. She stood alone in the tall hall, her hands behind her back. The screen showed the clean capture, the perfect execution of the mission. She nodded once and turned away. She did not call for Laura or her team. They did not need thanks. Their job was not for fame. It was for duty. In a quiet field outside the capital, the special forces returned to training. No rest, no breaks. New recruits were watching. They saw how Laura moved, how Cole gave orders without raising his voice. They learned from the best, and they learned fast. Across the galaxy, other rulers remembered what had happened. They told their guards to stand down. They ordered their ships to stay docked. The Queen had not raised her voice. She had sent her shadow, and that was more than enough. In a small town on a mining planet, a child asked his mother about the black-armored soldiers who came from the sky. She told him the truth. They come when the world forgets who protects us. They come when men like Lennox try to break the crown. The child asked if they were real. They are very real, she said. That night, the stars over Earth were calm. Ships moved like quiet birds across the sky. Peace had returned, but it was not weak. It was guarded by those who walked in silence, who fought without fear. And every world now knew their name.